And you're just in time for Business Glide, the only name in matters public policy and business. We give you the most comprehensive analysis in the world of economics and business that you should actually be actually posted on. My name is Richard Mwenje. Such a pleasure to have you on board. And with me is Herman Manyora, the only name in matters public policy analysis and political analysis. And today, on this particular edition, we are going to look at matters welfare enhancement in this year of our law, that is 2023, that the government of Kenya has committed itself to, and we see in the fullness of time, are they feasible commitments, or it's just another chase after the winds? Well, let's dive into this conversation. Herman Manyora, great to see you today.
Thank you, Richard. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
Still looking good in your glasses?
Oh, of course.
James Bond.
Of course.
All right, sir.
Yes.
I'm having a copy of the dailies in here, and the headlines actually is Ruto reverses Uhuru's order on police uniforms.
Yes.
We've seen the last few days pass-out parades from different services under the police banner, and the key issue therein has been matters to do with the kitting of the police service. Initially, we used to see police officers, they get probably their 30,000 Kenya shillings. One goes there, purchases uniform from their own salary that they're getting. But Ruto has actually made a new directive. No police officers should actually buy the uniforms from their own pay. And also, they are now comfortable with using both the old uniforms that were there and the new ones that came with the new the other administration, that is Uhuru's. When it comes now to improving and nourishing the welfare of Kenyan police service, do you think Ruto is actually on the right track? From the kitting to the now tribunal set task force chaired by CJ Maraga.
I am a little confused, and I must admit I'm not very knowledgeable in these matters. But I just can't understand what Justice Maraga is doing. My reading of the Constitution and relevant legislation thereof tells me the National Police Service is the outfit to do exactly what Maraga is being told to do. So maybe I don't understand. Maybe I'm a little naive. Maybe a little bit enlightened. So what is Maraga supposed to do? It's like saying you are setting up a commission, such as the ones more used to have, to look into the welfare, salaries and everything of public servants. If it has to do with monetary welfare, allowances and salaries. Because the Constitution gives you an institution to do that, SRC. So how can you set up another body to look into the welfare of civil servants or public servants in terms of their salaries and other matters? What will be the work of SRC? So how do you put Maraga in charge of looking for the welfare of police into matters of welfare when the National Police Service is there? That is, I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Maraga is a judge, so he should know better than me.
But when it
I just don't understand.
I see.
Yes.
But when it comes now to the basic principles that should check into the welfare of the police force, you raised concern with matters to do with their kitting.
Yes.
Particularly with this executive order from the president, they should not get their salaries to pay for their own uniforms. Do you think now that's the right step to start, even before the recommendation that will come from CJ Maraga? First
of all, uniform means same. Uniform. Same. Homogeneous. So you cannot talk of uniform and have 10 different sets. That's not uniform.
The KDF have several.
No, they are for several different occasions.
And functions.
You don't go on a parade with this one and then the other one has the other one. You don't. No, please. They are ceremonial uniform. Even the police has a ceremonial uniform. The military has ceremonial. They have jungle fatigues. They have their uniforms. Then they know them. What I am saying, you cannot be wearing this and I'm wearing the other on the same occasion in the military. That's number one. Number two, in terms of whether or not the police should be given a uniform allowance, is a matter you should ask the police. Because I remember when the nurses were fighting for this. Nurses wanted it. So it can't be a bad thing. I don't know about the police, but I know about nurses. They were fighting to be given uniform allowance. It was one of the grievances. And since then, they have been getting uniform allowance. So I would think many people would rather they are given the money to go and buy the uniform, so long as they maintain the standards, than somebody buys for them and they will more likely bring substandard uniform. That's my simple understanding. So the question is, if I don't know if the police have been buying, but I assume the police have been buying. What was the problem? Were they buying substandard uniform? Or were they not replacing them as and when they should replace them, so that you have people with tattered uniform? What was the challenge? If it is none of the above and the police are happy with the allowance, it would mean somebody would want to centralize the buying, of course, to line his pockets. Because anything to do with the tender in this country or a project means somebody will become richer than they were yesterday. I just don't understand.
With regards to that particular issue about kitting, a number of lawmakers have taken social media and they are portraying this as a power display from Ruto's administration, trying to reverse some of the directives that had been made by just the former president, like now the kitting thing. Would you probably resonate with their argument that there was no need actually for Ruto to reverse to the back to the old uniforms?
You know, when you get into power, you are in power. And one of the things you do, you change things around. Otherwise, why were you getting into power? If it will be business as usual, if it will be everything is what your predecessor did. But if you are just changing for the sake of changing, or to settle scores, then that is childish. But changing is normal. That's why you are in power. That's why you fight to get power, to change things. But if you are changing to settle scores, or to look different, then that is, or to steal, then that's different.
Regarding matters changing that comes with every new administration, we've seen the Kenya Meat Commission's control has now been reverted back to the Ministry of Agriculture. Initially, it had actually been kind of sidelined and made to be under the control of the Kenya Defence Forces. With regards now KMC reverting back to the Ministry of Agriculture, the very same deathbed that it was lying on before its journey to the perilous distress it was on in matters financial woes, would you say that is the right step as at now? It is solid enough to revert back to its parent ministry?
You know, the politics around the military interventions, the military being given civilian duties, that politics has always been there. The merits or otherwise, perhaps is not the subject of our discussion. The subject of our discussion is simple. If, as American says, that thing works, why do you want to fix it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if the KMC has been revived to the point of being released from the ICU where it was, heading to the graveyard, and it is working, I don't know. I'm just assuming it is working. Then you'll also really be naive or too malicious. How to settle scores, how to show that you are the boss, to remove it from where it is working to where its problem started. But you see, I don't have the details. But I'll just find it strange if you were to do that. But the only thing that perhaps catches my attention is, let's assume it is important to remove civilian institutions like KMC from the military and hand it back to parent departments or ministries. Let's assume that principle is correct. I would still have a problem with the speed. The president has not been in office long enough
to revert it back.
To gather sufficient information. I'm one of the people who advocate for speedy resolution of issues. I want people to move with speed. This procrastination with things, fumbling today with what should have been done yesterday is part of our problems, a problem in Africa. So people moving with speed is what I want. But some of these things you need to study them. You cannot remove KMC just for the sake of it and revert it where it used to be. But I hope he has sufficient information.
I see.
Yes.
Way back, we've seen probably within the last 3 years, access to cheap and affordable credit has been a major thing. But then the government tried to get into partnership with digital lenders and a number of players in the finance industry to make sure that loans are quite accessible and quite cheap at it. But looking at the recent survey that has been released, from a general perspective, it has revealed that many people, especially women in Kenya, are turning into suicide because of being ensnared by the debt trap. People cannot even afford the very same loans on digital platforms, etc. For the case of, say, the Hustler Fund, which has been fronted by the government of Kenya, do you think it will address this issue of Kenyans coming from deadly debt traps and going into a softer landing whereby credit is easy to get, it is cheap, and even the collection measures are quite dignified?
You know, when you look at is it Hustler Fund?
Yeah.
You must call it what it is so that you classify it properly and talk about it intelligently. The Hustler Fund is a government fuliza. The Hustler Fund is not a credit program. A credit program is where borrowers borrow for purposes of business. Now from the business, they make enough money to repay the loans. That's a credit system. And not a credit system, there's a credit system of where you accumulate. That's not what I mean. But a credit platform. Fuliza is an overdraft for the common man who doesn't have what it takes to walk into a bank and ask overdraft. You want to buy a packet of unga, it is 200, and you are on your phone you have nothing. Fuliza allows you to buy. That's not business. So if somebody is telling Kenyans that the Hustler Fund is for business, then that's a joke. It's not for business. It's a fuliza. It's a government fuliza. It's an overdraft for a common man. Otherwise, if you are looking for a credit program for business, which bank can give you money before they assess your ability? Credits, not just to repay, but the viability of your project. Banks and other lenders place premium not on your ability to repay, although that is important, but what is it you want to do with the money? So they assess what you want to do. Then they give you credit. Who has assessed this government fuliza or Hustler Fund? Then they give you sufficient money to do the business you intend to do. What business can you do with 500 shillings? So this is not a credit scheme. This is a government fuliza. So if you want us to talk about government fuliza, you engage me.
We shall soon enough. As we wind up, sir, we've seen a number of Kenyans, especially in the 21 drought-stricken counties that have been revealed. They have been looking at better ways on how they can address their food security issues in their homesteads and in the community nearby. And with that particular spirit, we've seen the government reveal plans to revive the Galana Scheme. It has committed itself to setting up 370,000 acres of land under maize irrigation in the next 6 months. That is actually what has been pronounced by the President and the Minister of Agriculture they are in. So Galana is returning back, this time round on 370,000 acres of maize farm. Do you think now this will address the bottleneck that is food security, and especially for those people in Tana River and all those drought-stricken areas?
I don't know about the acreage. It was 1 million. They scaled down to 500,000.
No, it's 370,000.
They did 10, and now you are talking of 370. So this 370, I don't know. I knew of 1 million, 500, and then finally 10,000.
This one in just 6 months.
So you are saying in 6 months they can do 370,000. I don't know. I've not heard of that. But I have heard the government is serious about Galana Kulalo. Yeah. So two things. Number one, Galana Kulalo is a scam. It's not a viable project. Even with scientifically. Anyway, scientifically is not viable. There is insufficient water in that area to irrigate that number of acres. Number one. Number two, assuming it succeeded, at 370,000 acres, under irrigation and controlled husbandry, crop husbandry, it was meant to give a minimum of 60 bucks per acre. So if you do 370 successfully, and we give you accolades, with one stroke, Galana Kulalo will wipe out the entire farming community in the North Rift. There will be no Uasin farming, maize farming. There will be no maize farming in Nandi, in Trans Nzoia, in Bungoma.
They'll be doing it for export.
You can't. Where? Which export? Because one of the reasons why our products don't compete like sugar is because the amount of sugar you produce in 10 acres, Madagascar does from 1 acre or less. Same with maize. The husbandry is so bad, our maize cannot compete in international
global market.
It cannot. So the farmer in Uasin will pack and go home if Galana Kulalo succeeds to the scale you are doing. Remember, and that's why I look at this president and I wonder, does he really care for his people? Because Kenya has a maize deficit of 10 million bags. Which deficit I have argued, and I'm not an expert in that area. And let an expert come here and argue with me, or anywhere for that matter. 10 million bags, which is our deficit, you do not need to do anything. You just need to make the life of the farmer in the North Rift comfortable. Only that.
And they'll make the production.
Low-lying fruits. Some of them don't even cost money. Just ensure we don't have fake fertilizer in the market.
The cereals board. And all.
Yeah. Just ensure we don't have fake seed. That has cost the government nothing. Zero. Just to ensure the fertilizer in the market and the maize seed in the market is not fake.
Quality assurance.
That alone gives you millions of bags extra. Assist the farmer to avoid post-harvest loss. Which involves simple things like just how to dry maize. And finally, in order that the farmer may farm 10 acres this year and the 15 next year, ensure the 10 acres produce of this year has a market. Because when the farmer does 10 acres and they get perhaps 400 bags or 300 bags, the National Cereal and Produce Board, who is the only buyer, is dragging themselves. The farmer has nowhere to sell the maize.
Cartels there.
And yet, and the president of this country comes from those areas, he must know. I grew up in those areas. In those areas, if your father did not buy you what you needed after the maize harvest, that's where you come from. You will have to wait until next harvest. There is no circulation of money in those areas other than the harvest money. Fees, clothing, Christmas,
savings and investments,
and then replanting of the following year. What happens to the farmer? Because these things are all waiting for the farmer and there's nowhere to sell maize. They then fall prey to middlemen who, instead of buying maize like today at 5,000, could end up buying at 3,500. Hardly enough to recoup, even to recover what you put inside the investment. What does it cost the government to ensure there's sufficient market? Because market may simply mean knowing where a product is and knowing where that product is required and linking the two.
Within the right timelines.
So if government did these simple things, even before we ask them to do a serious fertilizer plant or even a fertilizer arrangement with a country like Morocco, so that you lock out everybody else who is bringing fake fertilizer, and the Morocco businessmen bring serious fertilizer at affordable prices. Before you reach there, the government will have surpassed the needs of Kenya in terms of maize, and there will be no need for Galana Kulalo, finally. Whereas irrigation is what saved Europe and made the population grow after the agrarian revolution, when people stopped depending on rain, and they were also doing some little irrigation, the canals in England and so forth. It cannot be for maize. You cannot irrigate maize in a country where God has given you sufficient rainfall. It will be it is the most stupid thing to do, to tell me that a government can try to irrigate a maize farm. It is the most stupid thing any government can do in a country like Kenya. What you do, you promote farmers where they can use God's rain. It has never failed them. God's rain is always there. It has never failed the farmers. The little things that derail the farming, they don't even cost money. I've mentioned them. Now, if you want to develop irrigation, develop irrigation for horticulture. Horticulture. Fruits and vegetables. And get serious value addition chains and look for foreign market. Irrigation in this country should be for horticulture, not maize. Maize is laughable. It's even stupid.
How can you irrigate maize? Of River Tana.
How? Pardon?
They are tapping into the potential.
That river cannot irrigate even 50,000 acres. It will run dry. And there's no underground water enough to irrigate 370,000 acres. You know, this is a joke. And this country must stop joking.
Big thinking.
You cannot joke your way around this food problem. Because we are the laughing stock of the world. How can a country like Kenya, endowed with all this beautiful land, with arable land and ample rainfall, how can we be begging for food?
Yet Egypt is doing it.
Yeah, Egypt, Israel, they have nice fruits. They even bring them here. And you people, Egypt is planting crops. They are selling things, including they want to sell sugar here under Comesa. Unaelewa?
Yeah.
A desert. You have all these things. Now you want to go and waste many billions to irrigate maize. Excuse me. You cannot.
Well, very well. There you have it from Herman Manyora. A clarion call to the President William Ruto to look at the issue of Galana Kulalu with the forethought and thoroughness that it's needed, so that we don't go back to those back days whereby the project turned quite ugly and there were disappointing reports from that particular project meant to address food security in this, well, republic that is Kenya. Time for Fan of the Week, and it is none other than Wangare Kamau in Texas.
Wangare Kamau from Texas. The land of guys with nice Texas hats.
Texas Ranger.
Wangare, thank you so much for being part of us.
All right.
May God bless you and continue being a member of the family.
I see. Until next time on Business Glide, my name is Richard Mwenje. Such a pleasure to always have you on board. Make sure you get tuned to our next edition.